Start with our top story. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said globalization has left many behind and is leading to global inequality, which has triggered widespread unrest. Addressing students at the Lahore University of Management Sciences, Guterres said the lack of political will to fight climate change is alarming. Discussing climate change, Guterres said the world has failed in countering the disastrous steps against the climate. The UN chief also stressed the need to boost the role of youth in international politics and advocated gender inequality in every sector. Moving on, India has now imposed further curbs in occupied Kashmir by invoking the Unlawful Activities Act. The act gags all dissenting voices online, giving New Delhi the power to jail any social media user for up to 5 years. New Delhi has started filing FIRs against Kashmiri civilians by using proxy servers to evade the internet ban. Indian troops claim miscreants are propagating rumors with regards to the current security scenario in the valley. The FIR came after a video of ailing pro-freedom leader Hurriyat Sayyid Ali Gilani was uploaded on social media. New Delhi has imposed a total clampdown and communications blackout in the valley for the last 198 days. India's southern Telangana state has joined the swelling list of states to pass a resolution against the controversial Citizenship Amendment Act. Earlier, 4 other states, Kerala, Punjab, Rajasthan and West Bengal, passed similar resolutions. The state has appealed to the center not to discriminate on the basis of religion in granting citizenship to anyone. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of Indians held a rally against the law in Punjab. Protesters accused the central government of carrying out a communal agenda of targeting the country's Muslims. The all-women sit-in also continues in the capital Delhi's Shaheen Bagh, despite pressure by police and the BJP government. 93 more people have died over the past 24 hours from the outbreak of the new coronavirus in China, bringing the death toll to 1,868. The National Health Commission says another 1,886 infections have been confirmed, bringing the total to over 72,000.
While Beijing is fighting the outbreak of new coronavirus, it is struggling to contain the epidemic. Medical staff and supplies from across China have flooded Hubei province, the epicenter of the outbreak.
We are required to deliver 6,095 respirators, but we managed to make it to 10,000. And instead of providing 60,000 surgical masks as required, we managed to provide 100,000 of them. The workers fighting on the front lines are risking their lives in this battle against the virus, so it is our duty to ensure there is enough support materials for them.
The World Health Organization says the virus is a serious problem, but is warning against overreaction and falling into hysteria.
This is a very serious outbreak and it has the potential to grow, but we need to balance that in terms of the number of people infected. Outside Hubei, this epidemic is affecting a very tiny proportion of people.
Japan now has over 500 coronavirus cases, including 455 on a quarantined cruise ship docked at Yokohama. In China, the annual parliamentary meeting, scheduled for early March, has been put off because of the outbreak.
In other news, the EU has expanded its sanctions against the Syrian government by adding 8 more businessmen and 2 entities to the sanctions list. The EU Council says President Bashar al-Assad's government directly benefits from the activities of these people. The Council said its sanctions against the regime include oil embargo, restrictions on certain investments, and assets freezes of Syrian central bank held in the EU. To date, the EU has added 277 businessmen and 71 entities to its sanctions list, imposing a travel ban and asset freeze. It said the bloc has also imposed export restrictions on equipment and technology that might be used for internal repression. The EU has been implementing sanctions on Syria since 2011 and revises its decision in this field on an annual basis. The UN says breaking the arms embargo in Libya has turned it into the largest ammunition stockpile in the world. The deputy UN envoy for Libya, Yaqub El-Hillu, says 150,000 to 200,000 tons of uncontrolled munitions exist across the country. Citing recent findings of the UN Mine Action Service, Hillu said Libya is the world's largest theater for the use of drone technology. In the meantime, the intra-Libyan Joint Military Commission, including delegates from Libya's warring parties, meets today in Geneva. 5 members each from the government of National Accord and Khalifa Haftar's National Army will take part in the UN-brokered talks. The Sudanese government and a coalition of rebel groups have agreed to extend peace talks for another 3 weeks. The warring sides missed a deadline for a final peace deal on February 15th. The Sudan Revolutionary Front and Khartoum representatives signed a deal to continue the negotiations. SRF Deputy Secretary General Yasser Arman said important steps have been made to finalize a peace agreement. Arman said he hopes this will be the final extension of the talks. The peace talks, which began in South Sudan in last October, are meant to end conflicts in Darfur, the Blue Nile, and South Kordofan. In Tunisia, President Kais Saied says he'll dissolve parliament and call early elections if the new government can't win a confidence vote. This comes after parliament rejected the government lineup introduced by designated Prime Minister Elias Fakhfakh. The government now imposed must be approved within 2 weeks or there will be a new election. But the largest parties remain opposed to Prime Minister Fakhfakh's coalition, making it unlikely that he will win a majority. The Ennahda party, which controls most seats in parliament, says it will only join a unity government. Fakhfakh says the party's position is likely to put Tunisia in a difficult situation. In Niger, a stampede has broken out at a donation drive for refugees in the country's northeastern territory, killing 20 people. Aid workers say 10 others were injured. The tragedy happened when a Nigerian government official was distributing cash and rice to refugees from his country. People rushed to collect as much as they could, causing the stampede. Terrorist violence in northeastern Nigeria has forced thousands to seek refuge in neighboring countries, including Niger. The Russian army has begun a joint exercise with Belarus's Special Operations Forces in the western region of Pskov. The Russian Defense Ministry says the maneuvers were launched with a formal ceremony. The Defense Ministry said servicemen will complete a series of combat training tasks. The tasks include an airdrop mission, taking control of a facility, performing a raid, and engaging in defensive action. The first joint exercise will involve over 400 Russian paratroopers and 80 Belarusian commandos. The joint maneuvers will continue until February 21st. Snow-capped peaks used to be clearly visible from the streets of Almaty and Bishkek, 2 of the largest cities in Central Asia. But now, a heavy cloud of dark smog often blots out the view as air pollution regularly reaches levels similar to New Delhi and Lahore. Details in this report.
In the Kyrgyz capital Bishkek, a city of 1 million people, the onset of winter means a surge in pollution. People burn coal and other dirty fuels in stoves to heat their homes. Here, readings of PM 2.5, a measure of fine particles in the air, frequently reach levels the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency defines as hazardous to human health.
The sensor in my house showed that the excess is not 3 times the norm, which is usually the case in other post-Soviet cities, but 7 to 8 times the norm. Sometimes it reaches 10 times when everyone is warming their homes on cold days.
Almaty, Kazakhstan's largest city, runs on coal-fired power stations dating back to the Soviet era. But other factors have created a massive increase in the smog problem in the last 20 years.
It is a common fact that air quality in Almaty is quite poor, especially in the winter. We are located in a mountainous area and the ventilation is poor. Besides, there are too many vehicles. However, I think the main reason for pollutions is power stations that burn coal and haven't switched to renewable energy sources.
Smog is a problem in the capitals of other ex-Soviet republics, such as Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. Despite pressure from their people, governments have been slow to acknowledge and act on the problem.
I'll be back after this break with plenty more news. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Amazon's chief executive officer Jeff Bezos has pledged $10 billion to fund the fight against climate change. The Amazon CEO will launch the Bezos Earth Fund to help scientists, activists, nonprofits, and other groups fight to protect the environment. Bezos said in an Instagram post he wants to explore new ways of fighting the devastating impact of climate change. He said the Amazon will meet the goals of the 2015 Paris Climate Accord 10 years ahead of schedule. The Bezos Earth Fund will begin issuing grants in mid-2020. Biohacking is a global movement whose followers want to upgrade their bodies with experimental technology and DIY health. In Russia, the trend is spreading, with some people adding chips to their hands to open doors or start cars. Others hope they can live longer through intensive monitoring of their bodies. This report has the details.
€30 and a small cut through the skin is the price one pays to join the growing community of biohackers. Young programmer Alexei is having a subdermal chip implanted so he can gain access to his office with a wave of his hand. He's part of a growing number of people upgrading the human body through technology, intense medical tests, or extreme exercise. For him, implanting technology under his skin is the next stage of human evolution.
It's something I decided to do a long time ago, mainly because it's convenient. Not to get rid of all cards, but at least to carry around less of them.
IT specialist Vladislav Zaitsev has performed over 50 procedures in his small studio apartment. Implanting a chip in your hand is a rather radical form of biohacking, a global movement aimed at using technology to upgrade the human body. This lifestyle is growing popular among Russians.
In biohacking, I like things that give a real, confirmed effect. I like the idea of expanding the capabilities of the human body.
Other biohackers are even more ambitious. At a private clinic, entrepreneur Stanislav Skakun sits as nurses fill some 20 test tubes with his blood for analysis.
If we start dying not from illnesses but from accidents, we would on average live 5,000 years. That suits me, as it's much better than 90 years, so I'm ready to die from an accident and not cancer or cardiovascular diseases.
There are no official statistics, but according to local biohackers, around 1,000 Russians are currently chipped. They're part of a growing number of DIY biologists opening the door to the future of transhumanism, the belief that humans can live beyond their physical and mental limitations.
The French Riviera city of Nice has kicked off its annual King's Carnival for the 136th time, with fashion as its main theme. The floats, big heads, and flower battles have attracted hundreds of thousands of spectators from around the globe. Watch more on that now in this report.
Nice's streets have been filled with crowds of happy carnival goers showered with confetti. They're here to see the parade's showpiece floats, each carrying giant effigies. This year's event is centered around fashion. The carnival paid tribute to legends of the trade like Jean-Paul Gaultier, Sonia Rykiel, and Karl Lagerfeld. Last year, the festival attracted over 200,000 spectators. This year, organizers expect an even bigger crowd.
We come every year. Yes, it's beautiful, very beautiful.
All the floats and everything is really well done. Really very beautiful.
It's magnificent. We got dressed up to take part in the Nice Carnival.
Carnaval de Nice.
The event runs until February 29th and has been a fixture of the coastal city for almost 150 years.
Japan's cabinet has approved a bill to support local companies to develop a secure 5G network. This follows growing alarm among policymakers over the increasing influence of China's 5G technology. The bill gives access to low-interest rate loans from government-affiliated financial institutions to local companies. The bill also gives tax incentives to companies adopting 5G technologies if they meet standards set by the government. The government will submit the bill to Parliament and aims to bring it to effect around the summer. The U.S. has been campaigning against Huawei on allegations the telecom giant could spy on customers for Beijing. Stock markets across Asia are trading lower as the new coronavirus outbreak continued to roil companies over fears it would cause a slowdown. Seoul's Kospi has plunged over 1.5%. The Nikkei 225 is also trading over 1.5% lower after SoftBank stocks dived over 4%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng has also lost over 1%, while the Shanghai Composite is trading fractionally lower. Time now to find out what the weather is like around the world. And you're all caught up. Thank you for watching this bulletin here on Indus.